I'll give you one final example of this guy, David DePepe, before we go to break. This is from, again, Rich Lowry over at National Review, who I think he's quoting WAPO. This guy believes that he was being targeted by invisible forces. He writes, in its review of what DePape wrote in his blog the week before the attack, Washington Post found, he thought that, quote, an invisible fairy attacked an acquaintance and sometimes appeared to him in the form of a bird. Quote, he wrote that he was looking to purchase a fairy house on Etsy, but was frustrated that the doors were painted and so could not be used by a fairy. They have lots of fairy houses, he wrote, this guy, DePape, but none of them are made for fairies. Before his post would load, readers would see an image of someone wearing a giant inflatable unicorn costume. Yet we have NBC telling us none of that matters. All that matters is that Republicans in their rhetoric need to know that lunatics like this are out there and they may be incentivizing them. Contrast that to the guy who showed up outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house, who clearly was having mental issues himself, and the whole thing was dismissed because of the fact that he was having mental issues. It was not the left's unhinged attacks on the Supreme Court and Brett Kavanaugh placed him in danger, and the left needs to be more responsible because lunatics like this guy who showed up with his weapons and his zip ties outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house, we need to understand that they're out there. Not at all. It wasn't beside the point. It was the entire point, the mental illness. Now it's all about the GOP. Why? Because we are a week plus away from a midterm elections in which the Democrats know their political fortunes are dwindling by the second. And as CNN reported, they see one way out of it, and that is to scare and anger based on January 6th.